I've surrounded myself with so many smart and wise people of great experience who, when I get into City Hall, I'm going to be able to lean on the expertise of people like Joe Oliver to help me and get things all figured out at City Hall. Thanks so much for coming out here today. I know traveling across Toronto on really any day, any time other than midnight or 6 in the morning is a really perilous and difficult thing to do. So I appreciate you coming down and joining us today. It's been a great privilege for me to be a national newspaper columnist, talk radio show host for more than a decade in this city, dealing with the municipal issues, the things that matter to Torontonians, to Toronto. And I'm running for mayor because the issues that I've been concerned about in recent years, the issues that I've been investigating or hearing from people about that they care about, those are the issues that are coming to a head right now. They are the issues that I want to confront, deal with, and solve to make our lives better and the lives of our families better in this city. Because right now, things feel like they're slipping. This is a great city. I'm raising 3 kids here. I got 3 boys, 5, 7, and 9 years old. And I remember my youth, my teenage years, early 20s, just gallivanting around town. I loved it. It was great, not a care in the world. And now things are different. Every meeting I have, it doesn't matter where in the city, what the original purpose of the meeting was, at a certain point, it all gravitates towards someone saying, I used to let my 13-year-old go on the subway. Not anymore. Don't feel safe. I grew tired of hearing people in their 20s and their 30s say, I'm thinking of moving out of Toronto. I just can't make it work anymore. I've grown tired of seniors saying, I used to go downtown to see a show, to grab lunch, see a movie. We're not doing it anymore. We're not feeling it. Too expensive, don't feel safe, too much congestion, we're just not interested anymore. It's very sad that Toronto is feeling like a city on the decline. I was recently at the Greater Toronto Hotel Association Summit, so all the GMs and owners of all the big hotels downtown. And they said, well, we're hearing the early warning signs because the people they get at their conferences, the people they have there, business travelers, tourists, people who are coming and thinking about, should I rent a couple floors of this office tower? They come to Toronto and they go, oh, this really wasn't what I was expecting. Toronto's kind of a little, this really wasn't what I was expecting. Toronto's kind of a little shabbier than I thought. Congestion's worse than I thought. All these people roaming around on the streets, troubled by drugs. This isn't what I thought I was getting out of Toronto. These are the signals we're sending to the world, the signals that we're sending to our family, and people are feeling it, and they're not liking it. I have said that we can't let Toronto go one step further to being like those awful scenes in Seattle, San Francisco, downtown Vancouver, and as mayor of Toronto, I'm going to put an end to that decline. But how are we going to do it? I've got a number of plans that I'm really excited about that we've been telling people at the door every day for the past couple of months that are really gaining traction now. The first announcement I made, the first press conference I did, I said that as mayor of Toronto, these drug injection sites that we're seeing, the police, people who work in hospitals, they all tell me, all these random attacks that you're hearing about, in the subways, out on the streets, so many of these, the vast majority of them have to do with the drug crisis. And if we deal with this problem, we deal with so much of what's going on out there in public safety. And yet, City Hall has plans to create several more injection sites. And as I disclosed just the other week, maybe you saw my press conference, that your tax dollars are going towards taking City of Toronto branded crack pipes and crystal meth pipes, and they are distributing them not just at the injection sites, but all across the city, and that all homeless shelters in Scarborough, North York, and Etobicoke are slowly being turned into injection sites. And as mayor of Toronto, I'm going to put an end to that. And you know what? I lived a couple blocks away from Moss Park for a number of years. Awful stuff going on in Moss Park. We had a nice condo that we lived in a couple blocks away, but we saw the carnage on the streets every day. And I knew what it was like as a parent to walk my kids in a stroller. I say, let's go to the park. But first I have to look and scan the park and the playground for needles. and we find needles. We say, sorry kids, we gotta move on. So many families are experiencing this. And we're a compassionate society, and a compassionate society doesn't keep people on drugs, it helps get them off of drugs, which is why I'm saying no to more injection sites. We're gonna phase them out, and we're gonna replace them with treatment centers. The funds are already allocated for these sites. We just got to retool the way we're thinking. We've been doing this same thing for 20 years. It's not working. It's making carnage on our streets. Now, when it comes to the other violence on our streets, I have said that as Mayor of Toronto, I will be hiring 500 new police officers. And we're going to increase the visible presence of our officers in our communities, on public transit, downtown, and on the streets. Because right now, everybody thinks the next person turning that corner could be a person troubled on drugs, a crazy person, some bad guy who's gonna do us harm. I wanna change that thinking so you go, the next person who turns a corner could be a police officer. And I'll tell you, officers who I've been speaking to, they tell me there used to be this thing, I'm sure you remember it, called beat cops, where a police officer would be walking down the street. Remember that? That's not just a thing from the old movies. That was a thing in real life. And we haven't had that for many years. We're going to bring it back. They used to have this thing. It's still a phenomenon. They talked about it in New York. It's called the broken windows theory, where if you can get away with doing little things, well, why not do bigger things? Oh, I've been littering. I've been graffitiing. No consequences. Well, might as well go rob a guy. Okay, no consequences. Might as well do the next thing. And that's what we're slowly experiencing right now. There are communities, not far from here, I guess, right around here, the Jewish community now currently pays out of pocket for private security patrols. Even though people pay their taxes in this neighborhood, property taxes just as much as any other neighborhood, what's that all about? So we increase the visible police presence in a neighborhood like here as well. Because again, if someone can graffiti a mosque, and no one cares, well, we care, but no one stops them, well, then they're gonna throw a brick, which they have been doing. They get away with the graffiti, and what's the next thing? I'm not even gonna guess what the next thing is. We have to just say, no, we're not gonna tolerate it. Increase that visible presence to bring back a reassurance for ourselves, our families, and like I said, for tourists, for business persons. And as Joe was saying, investment matters. We can't share the wealth unless we grow the wealth. And there's no other candidate running for mayor talking about pro-business policies. How is our city going to thrive if people don't have jobs, if they don't have opportunities? As mayor, I'm going to be the brand ambassador for Toronto. Clean up the streets and then send the signal, go on that road show and go to every other city and every car plant and whatever factory and say, come on over to Toronto. Here's a great space in Scarborough. Open shop here, open shop in Etobicoke. Rent out these floors downtown that aren't being used right now. All hands on deck to bring business, bring manufacturing back to Toronto. That's not just a federal or provincial thing. The mayor can be the champion for that as well. Bring it all back. Now, when it comes to congestion, I'll tell you, as a newspaper columnist, I've written on all subjects that you would think would get people really going, that would get like death threats and people all angry, these international issues. I've learned that there are a couple things that really get people crazy, get them frustrated. And I've hit upon one of them. Bike lanes. Oh yeah. That is one of the hot button issues. And I will tell you, the numbers show that 75% of people actually have a pretty moderate, reasonable view in this city. And it is the view that I hold. And it's the other, not even 25%, but like 3% of people who have the other crazy bonkers view. My view is that the bike lane situation in Toronto has just gone too far. They're talking about adding new bike lanes to Shepherd, Eglinton, Lawrence. They want to, I might as well name, they're all, if Olivia Chow gets in, it's all of them. It's every single street, so it doesn't matter which one it is. They want to add those concrete divider bike lanes on pretty much every major street. And you've seen those videos where an ambulance is trying to go down Yonge Street and it just can't get past. The cars would like to move aside, but there's no shoulder. So where can the cars go? Nowhere. You know what happens if you make someone wait who's having a heart attack an extra 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 3 minutes. That is not a good situation to be in. People are telling me about how they can't do deliveries anymore. Food service distribution companies can't get access to small business. Wheel-Trans is not able to pick up their customers anymore. It's total havoc. The Taste of the Danforth, I grew up along the Danforth. Beautiful yearly opportunity there. Last year it was shut down in part due to the bike lane situation. We're all reasonable people. I bike, I go out with my kids on our bikes. We can do it on the non-major roads. There's appropriate places for it, but we're gonna say no more on the major roads. Now, when it comes to public transit, it's great we're getting more transit in Toronto, more lines and so on, but what if this new Ontario line that we're building, this sort of downtown relief line, what if it takes as long as the Eglinton line has taken? No, thank you. Which is why I have said, as Mayor of Toronto, I made this announcement last month, as soon as I get in as mayor, I will be suing Metrolinx for breach of contract and damages over the Eglinton Crosstown LRT and redistributing the money to the business. I've read the contracts, my legal advisors have. They are in full breach of that. But City Hall right now, these incumbent councillors running against me, they just sit there and take it. Endless delays, endless cost overruns. Oh well, says City Council, oh that's too bad. Anyway, no. We gotta stand up for ourselves. Enough with the polite Canadian stuff. We gotta start making some noise and fight for ourselves. And by suing them over Crosstown, I hope I'm also setting the stage that I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Ford and Mr. Trudeau or the next Prime Minister to get these new lines built. But you're not gonna pull the same shenanigans you did with Eglinton. So we're really gonna hold their feet to the fire on all of that. Speaking up for the city, standing up for what's right. We simply cannot let this decline go any further in our city. It is a beautiful city. And I gotta tell you, if you wanna fall in love with Toronto all over again, know why you wanted to move here in the first place, why you like this city, run for mayor. Because you go across town, you meet everyone. I gotta tell you, this is an amazing city full of amazing people, every corner, every walk of life, and they're not being well served. City Hall's forgetting about them. Downtown is totally forgotten about Etobicoke, North York, Scarborough. Once again, they've totally lost that. They've lost respect for taxpayers. They're doing the war on the car again. We've got to set things right again. I'm the father of 3 small kids. I know this city. I love this city. And Toronto's a city worth fighting for. And I believe we can fix this. Thank you so much for coming.